This is Judge Joe Brown, and we're listening to We All Be News. News-free Dixie for the 21st century.
We All Be is honored to have on Brother Larry Jeter to talk about his opinion on the Confederate Memorial Movement situation. We're standing in front of the Nathan Bedford Forrest statue. This is the burial site of Nathan Bedford Forrest and also of his wife. They've been here since, I believe, 1905, and it's 2015, about to head into 2016. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, sir.
Yeah, I want to ask your opinion. What are your thoughts about the Confederate Memorial, or this one in particular?
Well, this one in particular, I think that we ought to leave the memorial up there, but we ought to amend the memorial to include the information about how he earned his living before the war and his involvement with the KKK after the war, and tell the whole story instead of just making him out to be the hero of the Confederacy, when I don't get it with the Confederacy being a hero anyway. They were trying to destroy the United States, and I'm a patriotic American. My ancestors fought on the side of the Confederacy, and I'm glad they lost, because I want America to endure and not be divided. One nation indivisible. And to do that, we need to know all of our history and do truth and reconciliation on all of it.
I mean, if I told you that General Grant, the guy who led the Union to victory, also owned slaves, as well as General Lee, who led the Confederacy, what would you say?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
You know, Jefferson owned slaves, and we ought to ignore some things that he said because he owned slaves. Like, he complained about the taxation of labor, but the labor he was getting taxed on was the labor of his slaves. He gets no sympathy from me on that. But if he wrote a good piece of prose, we can still use the good piece of prose even though he owned a slave. And just because Grant owned a slave and that's a bad thing, it doesn't make winning the war a bad thing. You know?
Can you find some redeeming qualities about General Nathan Bedford Forrest in the same breath?
Well, I don't know a great deal about him as a person. He was an excellent commander of cavalry and did that better than anybody else in that time period, mainly because he only used his horse for transportation and then fought like infantry when he got there. And he was the only general of horse that was doing that at the time. You know, being a good general in a bad cause doesn't make you a good man.
Okay. So what is the win-win here? Because we know we're talking about the Forrest statue controversy here in Memphis, and city council voted to remove the remains of Forrest. But you know, you got people like the Confederate Sons, I believe, they want to keep the statue where it is, even some of his relatives. What do you think will be a great solution for both parties on both sides involved in this matter?
Well, one of the problems is you cannot remove them without the permission of his descendants.
Right.
And it would cost millions of dollars to fight that court battle. Put up a new memorial next to it saying the bad things about him as well as the good, and then his descendants will pay to get him moved away from that. And then we won't have to pay for that. And there's no state law saying we can't put up another memorial right there against him next to the one for him.
Okay. So you got any closing thoughts or words you'd like to share with us?
Black Lives Matter.
All right, great, thank you, brother. But okay, I'm gonna ask you about this. We're here because we're gathered here because of Tamir Rice.
Yes.
The situation with the grand jury, no indictment. Then you had earlier, Mike Brown last year with no indictment. You had a couple of cases like that. So what are your thoughts about the Black Lives Matter movement and even about the issue of police brutality?
Well, I think regardless of who gets shot by a policeman, whenever lethal force is used by the state, there should be some kind of public hearing airing the facts about it. And having a secret grand jury with a district attorney in secret presenting evidence, and you don't know whether he's advocating for indictment or not. And if he doesn't get an indictment, he'll never make me believe he wanted one, because I am confident that any competent district attorney in America can get an indictment on anybody they want to.
That's right.
But things like they did with Darrius Stewart here in Memphis, releasing a 900-page report. A 900-page report is not a way to get out information. It's a way to bury information in a shitstorm of data.
What do you think about the Darrius Stewart coverage here in Memphis, like the media coverage? What's your take on that?
Man, what media coverage? You know, practically none. And, you know, I've been trying to follow it, and I have no idea what happened. You know, and you would think somebody would have read that 900-page report and put out a good summary for everybody.
Right.
But I can't find it even in the new media. Forget the traditional media. I'm searching Twitter and everywhere, and nobody's, you know, and I'm not a lawyer or an investigator. I don't have the skills it would take to read that report and do a summary.
But you're a thinking citizen, though, and so you do have some type of critical thinking skills.
Yeah.
And you're asking questions that the media or somebody with some type of authority should be asking.
The media is entirely too beholden to the power structure. But the media has always and forever been too beholden to the power structure. And every time we get an advancing technology that lets somebody stick their foot in the door, we get another round of wiping out injustice that people didn't know about before because now they can see it. When they got portable TV cameras where the TV news could go and cover a march, people saw them turning hoses on them, and the civil rights movement suddenly took flight because people went like, you can't be doing that.
That's right.
And now that everybody's got a video camera in their pocket, and people who live and travel in poor neighborhoods can show everybody else in the rest of the country what they've been seeing all along, that nobody's been believing them. You can't not believe it when it's right there on video.
Brother Larry, thank you so much. In the words of Great Duke Elton, we love you madly. Keep on producing and pushing.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah.